10 Central Time today while I was on the air. They kicked it on. I could feel it blowing above my head. So I'm actually, for the first time in years, sitting under a draft with air conditioning coming down on top of me. And it's really, really nice. So yeah, we're thankful for AC here in the Mid-South. But I was starting to be worried that my equipment was, because the last few days you could just hear that equipment humming in there with the fans all blowing. And now it's quiet. Now I don't hear them, which means they're not working hard, which means in the end I'm going to save money by not having machines torn up. But yeah, my utility bill's pretty high just to keep all this equipment cool. I'll tell you that. But
yeah, I bet.
Anyway.
And electronics like that, you're right, they do get very hot, especially all of those being packed in a room like that.
Yeah, those rooms get really hot just from those machines. We have guys that, we're not too far from the FedEx headquarters, and this guy worked with them, and he said, you ought to see some of the AC units they've had to put in to keep all their equipment cool. It's ridiculous. I mean, and now we got good old Elon Musk coming to town, building the world's largest supercomputer. So I mean, just the AC units alone are going to pull the computers and the water he has to have to cool it all. I don't know. Maybe we'll all go dark. Who knows? But anyway, in the meantime, are you guys excited about the debate tonight, Michael? You're excited to stare at Kamala Harris for 90 minutes?
I'm going to wear blinders on that end of it, but I really, if I want to look at something, I'll watch Mr. Ed. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be an interesting evening. I got to figure that they probably gave Kamala the questions already, and was a possibility. But as long as Trump stays consistent, sticks to policy, and sort of acts the way he did at the debate with Biden, I think he'll win just based on that, because she's got nothing behind her, literally.
What do you think, Michael? I mean, Wes?
Well, this is horrible to say out loud, but I hope she realizes she's in so far over her head that she's going to have a nervous breakdown, develop an ulcer, and break out in shingles.
All on national television.
I hope it's a huge embarrassment for her, because she's not qualified. They've anointed her. The mainstream media's covered for her. When she was a vice president, she hadn't accomplished anything. Her approval rating was horrendous, I think even worse than Congress. And now all of a sudden she's the greatest thing to come along for hope and change and blah, blah, blah. So I hope it's a total embarrassment for the Democrats, and they learn their lesson that maybe next time they should vet their candidate.
Yeah, maybe they should.
I don't think they'll ever learn a lesson.
Well, here we go. First article tonight. Major U.S. banks closed 42 branches in just 2 weeks. Major branches: Bank of America, U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, Chase, TD Bank, Woodforest, PNC, Citizens Bank, Key Bank, Capital One, Citibank. What's going on here, Wes?
Well, they're saying that 70% of people aged 25 to 34 preferred banking online. And so by closing these brick and mortar locations, they can save millions and millions of dollars and switch everything over to online. So that's kind of what their strategy has been. And, and these banks, just like grocery stores, pretty much everybody now, when you go to the grocery store, you're bagging your own groceries. Customer service is a thing of the past, and they're using the excuse that, the younger generations don't even come into the bank. They use online banking. And I suppose some of that is true. But, who knows? It could get to a point where you have to drive several miles to get to your bank at the rate that they're closing these things.
I like my branch. I go in my branch, and my branch, the gals in my branch know me. There's a guy in there, too, that knows who I am. I work with him. But there's 2 gals back there. They love Dolly. They loved Delta. They now love Dolly. I bring Dolly in. And I love it because I walk in and I handle my credit cards. I said, this is my personal, this is my business. Pay my credit cards off while I go walk down the hall and see my other buddy down the hall. And so I walk down the hall, I visit Chew the Fat with my friend down there, and then they walk in and say, here you go, Mr. House, here are your receipts. We paid off your credit cards. Thank you, ladies. You guys, see you later. I mean, it's great. I love it. That's customer service, right? I don't have to do anything. I mean, I don't have to pay off my balance. I don't have to go look it up. The girls take care of it for me, and that's just, I love it.
What bank is that? Is that a regional bank or a credit union?
That is a national bank. That would be SunTrust, or what we now call Truist. Truist.
That's sort of interesting because most of the major banks change tellers like they change their socks.
I know. We're very, very fortunate. These girls have been around a long time.
That's strange.
Yeah.
Literally.
I was going to say back in the day, remember back years ago, Michael's time frame when they everyone had their loyal insurance agent, their real estate agent, they had their banker. There was a relationship there.
Yep.
And that's gone by the wayside for sure.
It has. In fact, let me do the math. Let's see. 2023 minus 1988. I had the same insurance guy for 35 years till he retired last year. Same insurance guy for 35 years. But that's nothing. I mean, Michael's had the same insurance guy for probably 75 years.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And actually 102. But at reality is banks, I hope you realize they used to be open 9 to 3. That was it. They opened at 9, and at 3 o'clock, that door locked. The guys that worked there were professionals. The gals, they'd be there 25, 30 years. There is no such thing as that anymore.
No, there really isn't.
You're an anomaly. Owning a bank, and I had one, I can tell you right now, is no big thrill. But the turnover that you have and what they pay for most of the tellers is pretty weak.
Yep.
But the reality is right now, they don't want to build relationships. When we're talking about closing banks, they want a kiosk type atmosphere. When there's no people, there's all machines.
But see, I live in a little bit of a smaller town, and the branch manager, I know his mom and dad. I'd gone out to dinner with his mom and dad. His father passed away, sadly, but I've been out to dinner with his mother and father. I know the church he goes to. He knows. I knew the church his brother used to pastor in another state. I know exactly what church his brother pastored at. All these people, the tellers know about my family, my kids. They know about the dogs. It's a little bit of a small town situation here. You've seen Mayberry. It's kind of like on that scale, to be honest with you.
Same bank I saw during the Civil War. That's great.
Well, they did fight. They actually fought. They fought the Civil War on our town square. No joke.
Remember when families?
You were there, weren't you? Were you there for that, Michael?
Pop.
What was?
Remember when families had their travel agent also?
Oh yeah.
It's gone by the wayside.
Yep.
When I was a kid growing up in Michigan, my neighbors, they had two homes right next to each other. One was a home they lived in, and the other was their insurance agency. They sold insurance to farmers and everything. It was a small family business. And times have changed, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed they have. Well, here we go. Experts say largest U.S. crash has started, dollars in danger. By the way, guys, I'm hearing about something now called Operation Sandman. Have you guys heard of Operation Sandman?
No.
Yeah, you should look that up. Operation Sandman. Yeah, look it up. Tell me what you think about that there, Big Wes. Operation Sandman. It's supposedly a plan by a lot of the BRICS nations. They're going to get together and they're going to dump the U.S. dollar all in the same week or so and see what they can do to us.
That's part of the SWIFT system, but the reality is that's the whole game plan of the Chinese when they started the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which was their idea of how to get rid of the World Bank, and then they started the BRICS from that, has always been to get rid of the U.S. dollar as a monetary. And reason why Russia didn't have that much blood bleeding going on when they literally had all these sanctions against them, because they do most of their banking through BRICS. So when we say we're going to sanction them, they don't care anymore. Go ahead, sanction me. But if we don't get Trump back in there, I don't know if you noticed yesterday, I think we mentioned it. Trump stated that if you don't do business with the U.S. dollar, he's going to hold it against you, a government, and affect our business and tariffs upon them. That's a smart move, because that he realizes that if the U.S. dollar is trashed, that's going to affect our ability to borrow, the amount that we pay on our debt, the amount of people that buy our bonds and treasuries. It's going to literally tear apart our economy. And that's what the Chinese want to do. They want to sit back and weaken our economy so they can call the shots on us. And that's why Trump made the statement he did a couple days ago. And this all plays into it. They know that Trump knows that what they're up to, but Biden and Kamala, when they get done playing Monopoly, they don't know anything.
Wes, what did you find out about Operation Sandman?
I didn't look it up yet. I was was looking at another article.
What are you doing? We doing a crossword puzzle over there or what? What are you doing? The Wall Street Journal crossword puzzle?
I didn't look it up yet.
All right. Experts say largest U.S. crash has started. Dollars in danger. What do you think of this, Wes?
Yeah, absolutely. The dollar's in danger. And like Michael just said, the tariffs, Trump's talking about 100% tariff on these countries if they dump and walk away from the dollar. And this article that you were just talking about, Robert Kiyosaki, as everyone knows, the author of Rich Poor Dad, informs that the largest U.S. market crash has already started with significant risk to the U.S. dollar. And if this Operation Sandman is what you're saying, that they're going to be an alliance to all at the same time, completely purge the dollar, that's significant problems for us here at home. You think inflation's bad, try some hyperinflation for a while.
Yeah. Welcome to here we go. I hate that. Here's what Business Insider says. When Operation Sandman is launched, the emerging theory goes 100 countries from around the world will sell off trillions of dollars with the government in a coordinated attack. That's a Business Insider. If you click on it, then they make you want to buy it. Sorry. But there you go.
And what happens if China at the same time starts dumping all their investments they have in our stock market?
Well, they also are our main lender. We borrow all kinds of money from them. We also pay interest on it. If the dollar collapses, the cost of borrowing, the cost of our money will go through the ceiling, and we will have a huge, forget about a recession. I mean, you'll be doing like they did during the Weimar Republic and walking around with a box of cash to pay for groceries.
But here it is. I found it on another site. A global battle over cash will decide who rules the world economy. The U.S. dollar isn't just for Americans. Every country in the world relies on it. Blah, 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 blah. The doom and gloom scenarios are overblown, financial experts told me. So who knows? Who knows? But you know what? If I were the BRICS guys and I was trying to bring down America, and by the way, there's like 59 countries that want to join BRICS. I don't even know if there's a full listing of all the countries that want to join. But if you guys were, if you are part of that system and you were trying to bring down the whole banking system in America, I mean, why would you not do that?
Well, can you imagine a scenario, Brandon, where Kamala Harris wins the presidency, and then we'll be reading articles about the U.S. begging to get into BRICS and join that alliance?
Yes.
Yeah.
They allowed us to actually lose the petrodollar. They allowed Saudi Arabia to get in bed with China. They allowed Saudi Arabia to go so far in bed with China. They spent $2 billion to build a refinery, Saudi Arabia did, in China, but they never built one here, ever.
And they're building that relationship with Russia also.
Exactly.
Russia and China are buddies now.
Yep. And you see, Russia and Iran are getting tighter. And of course, I think that's our fault. I think they were probably already working on some things, no doubt. But we definitely pushed them further into Iran's arms by pushing this whole garbage thing in Ukraine and NATO dragging weapons into there and sending them weapons and jets and all the things we're doing. Yeah. And now, of course, the question is Turkey, which is a NATO member, going to stay a member of NATO as they're trying to build this Islamic coalition to come after Israel? And the question is it's very possible Turkey may leave NATO and join those guys because they're already working. They're playing both sides of that fence anyway.
Right.
True.
Here we go. How government debt's killing the U.S. dollar. There you go. How government debt is killing U.S. dollar. I was reading today, boys, that we're adding. Have you guys read this? In fact, I looked it up on CNBC. We're adding $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. Right, Michael?
That is correct. That is correct.
Did you ever think you would live to hear that the U.S. government was adding $1 trillion in debt every 100 days? Did you ever think you'd live to hear that?
That before or after they invented the wheel. Did I ever think I would see that? I never thought I'd see debt where it is right now, ever. $1 trillion in debt. My pastor did a thing one time. If you take $1 million a day for 365 days, that's $365 million. Go back to the day Christ was born, and that is $1 trillion.
Wow.
Think about that. We owe $36 trillion. It's comical. And nobody gets it. the people in office, they just think they keep printing. They're destroying the economy. They're destroying our children's futures and our grandchildren's future by just indebting this nation to a point of no return. And if Trump doesn't get back into office, we will be a third-rate nation. We'll be Canada to begin with. And then after that, if Kamala Harris and Mickey Mouse, that idiot, are running this country, if China declares war on us, they'll probably give them Rhode Island. Say, we give up. They won't even go to war.
Do the math on that. Is that like is that like $100,000 every second? Has anyone done the math on that?
No.
Sounds about right. That's what I would say.
Look at that. Look at that.
104,920 per individual in America.
Look at that clock just going.
Again, that doesn't account for any of the long-term liabilities that put us over 130 trillion if you tack on the liabilities for Social Security, Medicaid, all of those good things.
Yeah, you add in the unfunded liabilities, we're at like $200 trillion. And by the way, all these people thinking they're going to get their pension paid, kiss that goodbye. I mean, I don't.
If these two people get in office, the comment is recently by a number of economists that if Kamala Harris gets in by the end of her presidency, if she, God forbid, has two terms, which she probably would get 2 terms if she got in, would be $16 trillion additional. We'd be at $52 trillion in debt.
Well, I think she's going to become president. I think in October. I mean, we've been saying this here for a few weeks. I think, be the smart thing to do for the party, for the deep state. Push out Biden. Let him pardon Hunter. Do whatever he needs to do. She can pardon him if anything comes around. And he leaves in October. She becomes president. Walz becomes vice president. And she gets all the trappings of the office, all the power. And then if this is election stuff draws out for who knows how long and who knows what they have planned, any kind of false flag event, they can just put in the continuity of government thing and Article 84, whatever they call it. And she can just sit there and be Jezebel.
I think Trump is going to win personally. And I think Merchan didn't sentence him because of 2 reasons. Either he fears him if he does win, or he wants to sentence him to prison if he does win so he can't take office.
That's what I think. And then they're going to use that as the excuse not to certify the election.
January 6th, I think Trump can overcome it, but it's going to be a total battle. I don't think she's going to win. I think America's going to wake up.
I don't think she's going to win, but I don't think Trump lost the last time. So I don't think Biden won. But my question is, does she get installed? Does he, quote, lose, even though we know he really won? I mean, they've done this to us once before.
Yeah, but this is going to be a battle all the way until somebody gets sworn in January 21. It could be me. I don't know. I'll go there. I was there when Washington was, inaugurated.
Yeah, you were there. A recession indicator with a perfect track record has started flashing this week. What is that, Wes? What is it? What's the recession indicator?
The yield curve inversion. The 10-year Treasury compared to the 2-year has been inverted for quite some time, which means you could get a higher rate of return on a 2-year note than you could a 10-year note. And that's not how it usually works. Usually, the longer you extend the term, the higher rates you're going to get over that period of time. And it's been inverted for a long time now, and it just got back to normal. But historically, such a difference has accurately predicted every U.S. recession since 1976 is when that yield curve goes from inverted back to normal. A recession has followed that. So investors respond to this with significant sell-offs, causing the Nasdaq's 100-point drop on Friday. The August jobs report, which showed weaker than expected job growth, contributed to the negative market last week. But this yield curve is a very big thing because, again, typically the longer term you have on an investment, the higher rate they'll pay you. But it hasn't been that way for some time now. You could get a higher rate. I mean, even I have a Schwab account. I could get a higher rate on a 1-month CD than I could a 1-year CD, and wouldn't be locking my money up for a year. Every month I could just renew that CD if I wanted to.
Sure.
So yeah, and this indicator has been accurate since 1976.
Russia selling oil for gold in September. There you go. Right?
True.
Yep.
You heard it first on Worldview Financial Report when we said gold is being monetized. It's being used as money. And China is the main perpetrator of it, and they're pushing it. So is India, so is Turkey. Other nations are pushing the use of gold as money. Russia doesn't want paper, it wants gold. China's a big purchaser of gold, and we're finding the rest of the world gravitating that way because they're seeing that paper money isn't going to work and gold is. And that's going to be huge for the gold market. Because when we talked about where the prices are going to be, if Kamala Harris wins 4,500 by the end of next year, 4,500 by the end of next year. But you haven't seen anything what they're going to do. I mean, and these people, Kamala and Donald Duck, her vice president, they will do absolutely nothing to shore up and maintain the strength of our nation financially. And our gold position, they try to say we're one of the largest gold holders in the world, yet they haven't done an audit of Fort Knox since 1967. Do you think I believe them?
No.
Last time we sold gold, by the way, is about under Obama, we shipped it to China and it had tungsten in it. It was fake. It came back. So we got a problem here in Denver. That's it.
That's it. That's all. That's all. That's all, Wes.
The Russian finance ministry expects to generate 162 billion rubles from oil and gas in September alone, a substantial increase from August, which will be used primarily for buying gold. So yes, Russia continues to stockpile gold.
Yes, and again, I can't figure out why gold is only at 25.17 and silver is only at 28.43. It makes no sense, does it?
Yep, a thing we call manipulation.
Silver, yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. Nothing stops the train. Nothing. That's what Lynn Alden on U.S. deficits has said. What's this article about? Kitco, the U.S. federal deficit currently stands, we've already talked about this, 35 trillion. That's the on record, not kind of the off record. And basically what is he saying here, Wes?
Well, just again, high record of federal deficit. U.S. federal deficit now stands at 35.362 trillion, highest in history, with limited prospects for reduction. You don't really hear either side in this election talking about tackling our debt problem. Now, in all fairness, Trump is talking about appointing Elon Musk to go in and audit all these government agencies and see where we're wasting money.
I don't know how you could ever pay this off, Wes.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you have the attitude that we need to spend every penny we have and then some. You know, if we did what our federal government does, Brandon, we would be in prison, for spending money we don't have. And, they've never taken this seriously and they haven't addressed the issue. And again, neither Trump nor Kamala have really talked about, spending within our means. This is how much money you have to spend. Dole it out accordingly and stop wasting it. Yep. And again, I've said for quite some time now, and with Trump, what he wants to do with Elon Musk and go in and do an audit of things, I think they should pull the top 3 or 4 people from every department in and say, here was your budget for the last 5 years. Here's where we know there's been waste and corruption. Your job is to run your departments effectively. And whatever money you have at the end of the year, we're going to pay you a bonus on it. And even if we had to pay each one of those people 150, 200 grand a year in a bonus to spend the taxpayer money wisely, at least now they have an incentive to do that. But it will never happen. It'll never, because they'll just keep printing money until one day they have to transition from the dollar to a digital currency. And I think that's the end game anyway.
That's the end game anyway. All right. Yep. By the way, did you guys see the video by Melania Trump? Did you see her video today on
Excellent.
Wow, I was a little shocked by that. I was trying to find it real quick. Let's see, put in the word Melania, M-E-L-O, Melania, M-E-L-A. Melania. It's already rolled off. Let me go to Twitter, see if I can find it there. Yeah, she basically saying, look, there needs to be an investigation into who tried to kill my husband. There's more to this story than meets the eyes, what she's saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Melania Trump. Trump. I don't know why that shouldn't be too hard to find, would it?
And it's
here we go.
interesting how a lot of those people on Trump's detail, their training was to watch a video.
It was online. Here she is. Watch this.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth. The attempt to...
Wow, she's right about that. All right, get your free packet of information. Just text good old Wes Peters right there, 602-558-8585, 602-558-8585, and say, send me the free packet, no obligation, free packet of information on precious metals. What is bullion compared to numismatic, 1933 and older, and how to put gold in my IRA. Are you guys going to watch our coverage starting in 1 hour?
Yes.
Of course you are.
Wait.
Yeah, can't wait. You're gonna get to watch the debate while we provide some color commentary along the way. Leah Holman, Colonel Rob Maness, myself, spread the word, worldviewtube.com, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Thanks for watching. Take care. Tonight on the Worldview Report, an extraordinary wave of violent crime sweeps through America's cities, including a disturbing new incident in Minneapolis. There's evidence to suggest electric cars are posing a bigger threat to the environment than gas cars ever did. We'll explain why. Donald Trump says he has a plan to stop nations from ditching the dollar. Kamala Harris finally releases her list of policies. And why are Liz Cheney and her father Dick Cheney suddenly so enamored with Kamala Harris and the Democrats? All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brandon House. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brandon House.
Good evening, and welcome to the Worldview Report. In our top story tonight, Zero Hedge reports that investigative reporter James O'Keefe has published unclassified information on X from the U.S. Army North Division, revealing that the Venezuelan prison gang wreaking havoc across the Denver suburb of Aurora has become a nationwide crisis. O'Keefe believes that law-abiding Americans will soon feel the growing consequences of the Biden-Harris administration's failed open border policies of importing third world criminals into America. He said the information is, quote, highlighting the growing presence of one of Venezuela's largest criminal organizations in the U.S., end quote. The document states that the Venezuelan gang, quote, has established a presence in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Williamsburg, New York, with approximately 400 members, end quote, living in these cities. The report also warns that the gang members in Denver, quote, have been given a green light to fire on or attack law enforcement, end quote, with Homeland Security investigations in New York receiving similar reports. The document details how the criminal organization is using advanced technology and surveillance, highlighting the danger to U.S. military personnel and law enforcement. It states, quote, coordinated efforts between local, state, federal law enforcement and the military are crucial, end quote, to protect against these expanding threats. Watch this.
Leaked U.S. Army CUI documents reveal warning of criminal Venezuelan organization Tren de Aragua expanding threat across New York City. The document states that Tren de Aragua has established a presence in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Williamsburg, New York. Approximately 400 TDA members live in those cities. Tren de Aragua, known as TDA, criminal organization members in Denver have been given a green light to fire on or attack law enforcement in Denver, Colorado. HSI New York reportedly received a similar report. O'Keefe Media has obtained controlled unclassified information known as CUI, distributed by the U.S. Army of the North Division, about Tren de Aragua, one of the largest criminal organizations in Venezuela, with an estimated 5,000 members. Now, this group has expanded across states of New York and Colorado, involved in human trafficking, drug and weapons smuggling. The distribution of the CUI document comes after videos showing National Guardsmen in subway stations and establishing a presence throughout New York City.
National Guard is now all over Brooklyn, man.
Why is the Army at this hotel?
We're here at the request of the state of New York.
It has been confirmed through the documents provided to us that Tren de Aragua, the criminal organization, has active members in Denver and have been given a green light to fire on or attack law enforcement in Denver, Colorado. HSI New York has received similar reports. The Denver news comes on the heels of videos of Venezuelan gang members rushing into apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado in August of this year. The document states that the Tren de Aragua members are 57 miles from West Point. West Point is the nation's first established military academy located in West Point, New York. CUI stands for Controlled Unclassified Information, which is information that the government or other entities possess or create that is defined as sensitive. CUI is not classified, but it does require safeguarding and dissemination controls. The document states, quote, "This information is an anti-terrorism, force protection, and law enforcement action officer's tool and should be used for situational awareness only. This information may not be released to the media." The TDA's expansion amidst the Venezuelan refugee crisis has led to violent incidents, including recent attacks on military installations. For the sake of protection of military installations and personnel, the document states, quote, "Coordinated efforts between local, state, federal law enforcement, and the military are crucial. We've reached out to the Army for comment. We await their response. We will put their comment in the thread below. This is a developing story. Stay tuned."
With National Guardsmen recently seen in subway stations across New York City, the situation is escalating as Venezuelan gang members have been involved in violent incidents, including an attack on a Colorado apartment complex in late August and on similar complexes in Chicago and in Dallas, Texas. A concealed carry license holder in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood took swift action to defend her family when an intruder attempted to break into her home on Saturday night. The single mother of two, who has chosen to remain anonymous, recounted the terrifying moment when a man tried to climb through her daughter's bedroom window. Without hesitation, she used her legally owned firearm to stop the threat, only to have it confiscated by police following the incident. The incident unfolded around 10:45 p.m. on East 69th Street when the woman's daughter alerted her that someone was trying to come in through her window. Here's what the mother explained, quote, "I just went into action," end quote, adding that her protective instincts took over when she saw the man hanging onto the window. After warning the intruder that she was armed, she fired a single shot, striking him in the leg. The man, later identified as 36-year-old Christopher Grady, was transported to the hospital in fair condition and has been charged with felony attempted burglary. Here's how the local news reported this incident.
Here, and that mother tells me she's been a CCL holder for years, but has never had to use her weapon until she says danger came climbing through her daughter's bedroom window.
Even if this broken outside windscreen is ever fixed, the trauma for one family has already seeped inside of their South Shore apartment. This after a mother and a concealed carry license holder took action when danger didn't come knocking on her front door, but instead broke through her daughter's bedroom window.
That motherly instincts kicks in as soon as something happens. It's like fight or flight.
The mother, who asked us to conceal her and her family's identities, says it happened before 11 Saturday night. That's when her 18-year-old daughter had just returned to her bedroom after bathing.
So I put the towel on, and then I run out my room. I run right there. I'm like, yo, somebody's trying to come through my window. So my mom immediately acted on it.
He was like hanging on her window. So I just told him, like, I have a gun, I'm gonna shoot, and he just didn't stop. So I fired a warning shot. I didn't even know that he got hit.
That's until police arrived on East 69th near Oglesby, where they found the 36-year-old suspect shot in the leg. He was taken to the hospital in fair condition. His life spared, but now armed with what the family hopes is a hard-learned lesson.
Next time you think about coming through somebody's window, you just remember how that bullet felt.
The mother is now hoping to move soon, especially since she says police confiscated her gun. Tonight, charges are pending against the suspect.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC 7 Chicago Eyewitness News.
On Saturday, Donald Trump told supporters in Wisconsin that he will impose a 100% tariff on goods from countries that abandon dollar-based trades. This follows years of Joe Biden and Democrats weakening the U.S. dollar on the international stage, and years of foreign powers led by Xi Jinping organizing economic trade policy with emerging markets in currencies other than the U.S. dollar. The South China Morning Post reported that Donald Trump pledged on Saturday to make it very costly for countries to shift away from using the U.S. dollar, adding a new pillar to his tariff platform. Here's what Trump said during the rally in Wisconsin, quote, "You leave the dollar and you're not doing business with the United States because we are going to put a 100% tariff on your goods," end quote. The statement follows months of discussions between Trump and his economic advisors on ways to penalize allies or adversaries who seek active ways to engage in bilateral trade in currencies other than the U.S. dollar. Options have included export controls, currency manipulation charges, and tariffs that people familiar with the matter have previously told Bloomberg News. President Trump made similar comments at the Economic Club of New York last Thursday. The former president made a clear comparison on his plans compared to Kamala and Joe Biden, who have threatened U.S. dollar dominance in their 4 years in office. We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview. Welcome back from the break. Thank you for joining us tonight and every night, and for remembering that we are brought to you by you. wvwfoundation.com if you'd like to make a contribution. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. wvwfoundation.com. Don't forget about our 21st annual Ozarks Worldview Weekend coming up on Friday night, November 1st. It's located in central Missouri. Very easy for many of you to drive, maybe a day's drive for a big chunk of the country. And it's on beautiful Lake of the Ozarks, the rolling hills of the Ozarks. The resort is right on the water. You can book your room and have a balcony that overlooks the lake. It's gorgeous, folks. Come join us, won't you? Full details are available at wvwtvstore.com. There you can book your general seating ticket or your priority seating ticket. You'll also find the code to use and the phone number to use to book your room, to make your reservation. wvwtvstore.com. Now, if you prefer to make your reservation over the phone, you can text Melissa, my wife, or leave her a voicemail at 901-825-0652, 901-825-0652. But don't miss out on the 21st annual Ozarks Worldview Weekend. What a lineup. Colonel Rob Maness, Leo Holman, Andy Woods, Patrick Wood, Dr. James Thorpe, Bill Federer, Sharam Hadian, Aaron Lavarco from Israel. What a lineup, folks. All the details are there at wvwtvstore.com. Breitbart News reports that the campaign website of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz has released a policy page 7 weeks after the Democratic nominees entered the 2024 race. The Harris campaign has taken criticism in recent days for being big on vibes and rhetoric while being light on policy. 7 weeks after she entered the race amid Biden's withdrawal, the campaign site finally included this policy page. While her proposals make mention of LGBTQ rights, particularly on discrimination and housing, it makes no mention of transgender ideology, specifically for the transitioning of minors. On Israel, the campaign says that Kamala Harris will defend the Jewish state's right to exist and will work to end the war in Gaza. She has come out stridently against the Second Amendment in favor of universal background checks, which would extend to private sales and presumably even loaning a gun to a family member. And of course, she's promoting red flag laws and a ban on so-called assault weapons. Former President Trump revealed aspirations to have multi-billionaire tech titan Elon Musk be directly involved in his administration should he regain the presidency. During a speech at the New York Economic Club on Thursday, Trump announced that he will, quote, create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms we need to do. It can't go on the way we are now, end quote. Trump did not really clarify what this commission would do, but did disclose one of its opening tasks would be to develop an action plan to, quote, eliminate fraud and improper payments, end quote, within the government, which he said cost taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars annually. Trump also praised Musk as a smart guy for giving him his complete and total endorsement. Watch this.
Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. Smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are now. And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force. Be interesting. If he has the time, that'll be a good one to do it, but he's agreed to do it. In 2022, fraud and improper payments alone cost taxpayers an estimated hundreds of billions of dollars. As the first order of business, this commission will develop an action plan to totally eliminate fraud and improper payments within 6 months. This will save trillions of dollars, trillions. It's massive. For the same service that you have right now, trillions of dollars is wasted and gone and nobody knows where it went. Further taming inflation and bringing prices way down.
The U.S. national debt has ballooned by over $500 billion in just 3 months. According to the U.S. Treasury, America's national debt jumped from $34.6 trillion on June 3rd to $35.3 trillion on September 3rd. That's a surge of $684 billion. The massive rise is coming just over a month after the U.S. national debt crossed the $35 trillion mark. The U.S. credit rating giant Fitch continues to sound the alarm on the growing debt. In a new rating action commentary, Fitch says it is affirming its long-term AA+ rating for the U.S., with a stable outlook due to the nation's high per capita income and the position as the largest economy in the world and dynamic business landscape. But the agency says it is not ready to upgrade the country to the AAA rating due to the nation's underlying fiscal conditions. Fresh off the crackdown on so-called keyboard warriors over social media posts connected to the recent anti-mass migration riots, leading leftist politicians in Britain are demanding new speech restrictions on the internet. That's what former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, whose neoliberal Labour Party government enacted with, well, some of the strictest speech laws in modern British history. He has joined the chorus of commentators demanding a new crackdown on social media. Speaking to LBC Radio this week, Blair said, quote, "The world is going to have to come together and agree on some rules around social media platforms," end quote. In my book that I wrote in 2015, The Coming Religious Reich, again, it came out in 2015. That's almost 10 years ago. I have a whole chapter dealing with Tony Blair and his absolute infatuation with hate crime legislation. So he's still at it, folks. Watch this.
The question of jurisdiction as well. You know, the server will be in one country, the person writing the message will be in another country. We've arguably seen this a little bit with the riots recently. But do you foresee a point in the not too distant future where other countries are going to have to follow Brazil's lead and take actual action against platform owners for the dissemination of disinformation?
Well, I'd certainly see a position where the world's going to have to come together and agree some rules around social media platforms. And I think that's, you know, quite what the answer is and what the right system of regulation is, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there should be, and there's got to be, because it's not just, you know, how people can provoke, you know, hostility and hatred, but I think, and I don't know what the answer to this is, you know, I'm just saying that. I don't.
We can't carry on as we are.
But we can't carry on as we are, and I think the impact on young people, particularly, when they got access to mobile phones very young, and they're reading a whole lot of stuff and receiving a whole lot of stuff that I think is really messing with their minds in a big way. And as I say, I'm not sure what the answer to it is, but I'm sure we need to find one.
Of course, so-called hate crime or hate speech legislation will mean prosecuting people that speak the truth. A nonprofit is suing to obtain information about the U.S. State Department's hiring of far-left activist Zakiya Carr Johnson as its Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. The Center to Advance Security in America, or CASA, which is a nonpartisan organization supposedly dedicated to improving the safety and security of the American people, well, they filed the lawsuit after first submitting a Freedom of Information Act request to the State Department. They were requesting communications that are related to Johnson's hiring. CASA Director James Fitzpatrick told the Daily Wire that hiring Johnson as the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at the State Department, quote, deserves maximum transparency due to Ms. Johnson's past extreme progressive advocacy and repugnant comments regarding America being a systematically racist country. The Center to Advance Security in America filed a FOIA request for communications and records related to her hiring. And after waiting over 140 days, we were forced to file this lawsuit, end quote. The request sent on April 23rd sought communications between Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and other officials concerning Johnson's hiring. And here's what the suit explains, quote, to date, CASA has received neither a further response nor any other further communication from Department of State, end quote. Johnson's hiring, well, it sparked a backlash among Republicans as radical statements from her past began to resurface. Johnson embraced radical critical race theory and claimed that American society is, quote, often riddled with racism, patriarchy, and exclusion, end quote. That's what the Daily Wire reported back in April. Well, now it's time for our nightly Worldview Report commentary. Kamala Harris is bragging about Dick Cheney endorsing her after he described Trump as the greatest threat to America in history. Harris herself said she is honored to have Cheney's endorsement. This prompted Modernity News to ask a valid question. How has Dick Cheney gone from Satan to a Democrat darling in the space of just a few years? Joe Biden once described Cheney as the most dangerous vice president in U.S. history. Watch this.
Vice President Cheney interpretation of the vice president?
Vice President Cheney's been the most dangerous vice president we've had probably in American history. He has the idea he doesn't realize that Article 1 of the Constitution defines the role of the Vice President of the United States. That's the executive. He works in the executive branch. He should understand that. Everyone should understand that. The only authority the Vice President has from a legislative standpoint is to vote. Only when there is a tie vote. He has no authority relative to the Congress. The idea he's part of the legislative branch is a bizarre notion invented by Cheney to aggrandize the power of a unitary executive, and look where it's gotten us. It has been very dangerous.
Let's talk convention.
But now somehow Cheney has become a very wise and respected and trusted authority. And as noted by Modernity News, the Cheneys have changed their tune on Harris and now think she and the Democrats are the saviors of America. You can see what Liz Cheney thought of Kamala 4 years ago in 2020. Not very much. Modernity writes, quote, maybe Cheney and Harris have found common ground as the most despised VPs in history, end quote. And why not? Both are globalists who believe in open borders to replace American workers. And of course, they're both for endless wars to feed profits to their buddies in the military-industrial complex. So, with endorsements like these, Kamala definitely is not helping herself, not one bit. This is no longer 2003, folks, when Americans largely bought into the phony premise behind the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Now we see those wars accomplished absolutely nothing positive for America or for Iraq or for Afghanistan. But they did lead to the deaths and devastating injuries of thousands of American veterans. And now they want to escalate the war in Ukraine with Russia. I think it's time to say no. They will not get our boys this time around. And they certainly will not get our daughters. That, I can guarantee you, that many American men will not allow that to happen. That does it for this edition of the Worldview Report. As always, thank you for tuning in and supporting the broadcast. Hey, don't forget to get your satellite phone with all that's going on in the world. I'm reading reports today about a 23-year spike now. It's a spike, hasn't happened since 2023. The spike in solar flares. You do know that these events, known as Carrington events, can put down the power grid, right? So it doesn't have to be a terrorist attack, a cyber attack. It could just be a naturally occurring event. Everybody, I think, should have, well, one of two things. They should have a satellite phone, and you can get one for free, just like I have right here. You get one for free. I do keep it in a Faraday bag when I don't have it here at the desk. And I used it a couple weeks ago, and I was in a bad cell area, and I really needed it. So you get a free satellite phone when you sign up for one of their very, very reasonable plans, very reasonable talk and text plans. Find full details at worldviewtalk.com. Now, the other item I think you need if you don't get a satellite phone, because you can text and talk on a satellite phone. You can text as well. Otherwise, get one of these. It's called a bivvy. And a bivvy allows you, as you know, to sync this bivvy to your cell phone, and you can send text from your cell phone through the bivvy to a satellite and back down to your friend or family member that has a bivvy tied to their cell phone. And honestly, I think every family member should have one. They actually have bundle packages. You can get 2 at a discount. You can get 3 at a discount. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Check it out, worldviewtalk.com. Van also will put the phone number on the bottom of the screen. You can use that 866 number and ask questions of any of the friendly customer service representatives there. Again, worldviewtalk.com. You can also find out about their solar generators. I have the Delta 400. You can also find out about their cell phone, and they don't store your data. And they have a bulletproof backpack, which also knocks down RFID. You know that, so someone can't steal your. I have a little one of the devices. They can't steal your credit card or debit card with one of these little devices. Someone could just come along with one of these merchant service cubes, touch it on the back of your wallet or on your purse, and grab your information. Not if you have one of these bulletproof backpacks, so they also have a pocket in there. You can put your cards, your wallet, where it knocks down that RFID. They also have EMP protection on these as well for your phones or other devices. So full details at worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Don't forget about Numi. Numi is loaded with what's called glutathione. Glutathione is a naturally occurring molecule in our body that starts to decrease around age 20. It helps to detox your cells. I wonder what would happen if your cells aren't detoxed, right? What if you just keep having toxins build up over and over and over? All kinds of horrible things I'm sure are going to happen, right? In fact, studies show that glutathione may remove mercury from your brain, helping to prevent dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. 162,000 studies on glutathione just at PubMed alone. Switch with it twice a day. Again, Neumi.com/house1, Neumi.com/HOWSE, and the number 1. Big sales and discounts going on over at MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. This is the elixir I take every day. I do my Gatatana, I do my Neumi, and I do my Bella Grace. These 3 things every day. Bella Grace, it's a powerful elixir with 3 powerful ingredients backed by 80 clinical trials. It's not a joke. Get a subscription and save. Get a subscription so it shows up at your door every month. Now, if you become an influencer and get 3 people to get a subscription, you get your subscription for free. Full details at MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. All right? That does it for this edition of the Worldview Report. Till next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care. We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
This is Brandon House Live. Whether the issue is law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security, Brandon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brandon House.
And good evening. Welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us. We're going to have live coverage tonight of the debate between Trump and Kamala, and we're going to be joined by Leo Holman and Colonel Rob Maness to give color commentary along the way. We're also going to be joined here in just a minute for just a few momentos by none other than Colonel John Mills as well. He'll give us just a quick update, and then from there we'll go on to Leo and the Colonel for the rest of the evening. Tell your family and friends, worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com. We're going to play the debate and provide color commentary along the way so you don't feel abandoned and alone. So there you go. I know a lot of you are going to want to shout, scream, and throw stuff at the television, but don't do that. Just sit back and together we'll all vent and cheer when appropriate. All right. We are going to be joined here in just a second by these guys. But before we are, remember, we are brought to you by you, and we appreciate your support. WVWFoundation.com, WVWFoundation.com. Now, don't forget, the 21st annual Ozarks Worldview Weekend is coming up on Friday night, November 1st. Friday night, November 1st. And guess who's going to be with us? Colonel Rob Maness in the building. Leah Holman in the building. Aaron Lavarco, who will be with us in studio tomorrow, by the way. Aaron Lavarco, our reporter from Israel, who's here in the U.S., and who else are we going to have with us? We're going to have Bill Federer, Dr. James Thorpe, Sharam Hadian. Let's see. We are going to have, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Oh, Patrick Wood, Andy Woods. Well, quite the lineup, isn't it? WVWTVstore.com for full details. WVWTVstore.com. All right. What's going on with Colonel Mills, guys? He got his time mixed up, huh? All right, that's fine. Oh, yeah. He forgot we're on Central Time or something. I don't know. All right, well, joining me now is none other than Colonel Rob Maness and Leo Holman. Gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast tonight. Thank you for being with us.
Good evening, Brandon.
Great to have you guys with us. Going to be a big night. And put me in the monitor right there so I can see these guys, please. All right, let's go to you first, Colonel. Age before beauty. What do you think is... what do you think President Trump needs to do tonight? And what do you think Kamala needs to do? Apparently, Kamala's got one goal. That is just to irritate Trump, try to gaslight Trump. So much for a good political policy and her vision. She's just there to try to set off Trump. But what does Trump need to do? What does President Trump need to do, Colonel?
Well, I think the first thing he's got to do is he's got to be Trump. And his team has got to let him be Trump. But and being Trump, he needs to remind everybody about his first administration's policies and link them directly to his Agenda 47 that he has on his website. And at the same time that he's reminding people and telling them about his Agenda 47 policies, contrast those with the Harris and Biden administration's failures in policies. And maybe even highlight the ones that they've decided they like so they could copy him because, copying somebody is extreme flattery.
Yeah, indeed. Leo, what do you think needs to happen for President Trump tonight?
I think he's going to handle this pretty well. I think it's going to be a fairly easy debate for him. If he just keeps his cool and maybe doesn't try to go for the knockout blow, I think she's going to hand it to him on a silver platter to where he will be able to deliver a knockout punch because she really is that weak of a debater from what I understand. Maybe she'll prove us wrong. Maybe she'll show us something that pull something out of her bag of tricks that we've not seen before. But all indications are Trump just needs to play it conservative, keep his cool, pay attention to closely, and wait for her to screw up and then pounce on it. And that will be a knockout punch for President Trump. It'll be interesting to watch.
You say she might pull something out of her bag of tricks. She may pull out a voodoo doll. Why are you laughing at that already, Colonel? She may pull a voodoo doll out from underneath the podium, and we will never see it sticking pins in Donald Trump, just kind of like the old classic 1969 episode of Scooby-Doo. And the reason, you guys remember that, right? And the reason the reason I say that is because last night we looked at this right here, National Geographic. This is National Geographic, folks. In Haiti, voodoo believers pray and perform animal sacrifices to feed and beckon the spirits. That's demons. Then they dance until a spirit takes over their bodies and, it is said, heals them or offers advice. The reason I bring that up in a little bit of a light moment, although this is extremely serious and dangerous, is that this woman is on video bragging that they've let 100,000 Haitians in. So maybe her bag of tricks includes some of them tonight with their voodoo dolls. Who knows? You remember a few years ago when one of these groups was praying hexes on Donald Trump? You guys remember that? I mean, good night. So who knows what this woman's going to be up to? Now, one of the things that came out today, when I saw it, I thought, nah, that has to be artificial intelligence. That has to be a deep fake. I don't think that's real. Sure enough, it popped up as the big, huge headline article at Daily Mail, and it was actually Melania Trump. It wasn't a deep fake. When I first saw it on social media, that's got to be a deep fake. She doesn't normally weigh into this kind of stuff. And sure enough, here she is, folks. Listen, if you have not heard it, what Melania Trump came out and said today in this video right here.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
Wow, indeed we do. When you guys saw that, Colonel, did you think that was a deep fake too? Did you think that was the real thing?
I watched it 3 times because I thought it was a deep fake. I really did think it was an AI generated piece, but it's real from what I can tell. And you know what? She's right. It's disappeared from the conversation. That should be at the top of every show that has anything related to the news in the United States of America every single day, and it's completely disappeared. Because I guarantee you that if it was about Barack Obama or even Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, it would be there every single show, every hour of every day. They would lead with it and do at least a 15-minute question and answer session. And where is it gone? Completely ghosted. Completely ghosted because they don't believe that Americans that support Donald Trump and Donald Trump himself are worthy of that level of investigative reporting.
What did you think, Leo? Did you too think it was a deep fake?
No, because you had already told me that it was real by the time I saw it. But I agree with the Colonel. I mean, we're still hearing about Charlottesville, what, 6-7 years after the fact? Charlottesville, Virginia, where the white supremacists were marching and Donald Trump supposedly said they were good people. Remember that? It came up in every single debate that Donald Trump has had since then. And so you can almost bank on the fact that it will come up again tonight. Even though it has been debunked, the media still reports on it, still refuses to interject that that's been debunked when it comes up in a nationally televised debate. But Donald Trump gets shot at and missed by a millimeter from being assassinated. And that's like a 1-week story. And boom, it dropped off the news cycle. So the Colonel's 100% correct on that. If the shoe were on the other foot, we would still be hearing about this every single night on the mainstream media.
We are going to be joined by Colonel John Mills here by phone. But by the way, it is being reported now that Kamala's team begged 4 or 5 times in the last day or so to have the microphones on. That shows me that she's desperate. She wants to gaslight him, and she wants his microphone on to pick up whatever he says, so that if he's mumbling or saying that's not true, or you know, Willie Brown, other names she might be mumbling under her name or under his breath, it gets picked up. So apparently she's planning to do something tonight, and she wants to make sure that mic is hot when he comes unglued. That's all I could think. I mean, why else would you do that, Colonel?
Oh, yeah. Well, they've got hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're going to pull out everything they have because this is their one shot to get her in front of about 30% of the American people that just don't even know who she is, really, even though she's been a U.S. senator and is currently the vice president. And they want to paint her in as positive a light as possible tonight because it's their only opportunity. But she's going to go for him and she's going to try to goad him into some kind of response. And she'll be talking off mic too, because you can hear each other in the room there. And President Trump, he just needs to be himself and compare and contrast what he's already done, how it's linked to what he's going to do, and how silly it is that their policies get any credibility with all the failures that they've had.
Let's go to Colonel John Mills, who joins us by phone. Colonel, where are you at tonight, Colonel?
So it's the morning time, and we're on a journalist delegation in Taiwan. Last night we had an official dinner with their deputy secretary of state. So the 11 of us is very excellent. So we were most of the senior leadership of their State Department.
So you're in Taiwan. Am I to gather you're in Taiwan?
Taiwan.
You're in Taiwan.
I am in Taiwan right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're on today we're heading down to a supercomputing facility. It's essentially among the TSMC chip plant. It's a different activity than the TSMC, but they're really codependent on each other. NVIDIA is also one of the leading AI efforts in companies in the world.
We got a lot of background noise. I don't know if you've got on a earbud, but if you could go right to phone, because the background noise is just drowning you out.
We're on a bus right now. I don't know if I'm going to do any better without that.
Let's try a couple more questions real quick. What is the latest? What are people saying there on the ground about China?
Well, the biggest concern is an attempt to quarantine the island. That's what we did during the Cuban Missile Crisis, because a blockade is an act of war. A quarantine says you're essentially going to inspect and not allow certain things in, like weapons. So that's essentially the biggest concern is within 6 months, if some form of a quarantine would be applied to the island. So they have about 6 to 7 months of food, 6 to 7 months of energy. That's a better stoppage than I was thinking. But that is the biggest concern. And right now, our Navy, China and Russia is in the middle of a worldwide naval exercise. And our Navy has essentially abandoned the rest of the Pacific to deploy ships to the Middle East. That's why Germany just ran a ship through the Straits of Taiwan as a presence operation. But our Navy is not doing well right now, and it's going to take years to build it up. And right now, there's worldwide exercises going on right now between China, Russia, and what's going on in the Pacific, in the Baltic, in the Atlantic, and the Mediterranean simultaneously. I'm pretty sure there's Iranian ships involved. So right now, you're seeing a worldwide naval surge. Let
me break in right there, because we're having a really hard time hearing you. But Colonel, it sounded like Colonel Rob. It sounded like he just said that the big concern is a quarantine, that they would surround the island and stop food and critical resupplies to come in. Is that what you picked up as well, Colonel Rob?
Yeah, quarantine is, I would liken it to one step short of a full blockade, which a blockade's an act of war, as John just mentioned there, and the quarantine's a step back from that. But they're going to intercept key strategic goods, military hardware, those kinds of things. And the key is, though, if they establish that quarantine, it's not a really long step to go from quarantine to blockade very quickly, I don't believe, if they have the right assets ready to be used and close by. And as we know, China has been planning for quite a long time for this type of operation, and they'll pre-position everything they need to on that coastline there across the Straits of Taiwan. So.
Wow. Colonel, let's go back to Colonel Mills. One or two more comments if we can hear you, Colonel. Any other news you want to report to the audience tonight?
So the biggest thing is they made it very clear in meetings with some of their defense advisors they need the weapons they've already bought and paid for. There's a huge backlog of arms. And they said over and over again, we are not freeloaders. We just want the weapons that we've already paid for so we can defend ourselves. And they use that term over and over again. We want to defend ourselves, not you. We want to defend ourselves. Please deliver the weapons we've already bought and paid for.
Wow. Colonel John Mills, how long will you be there, Colonel? Do we lose the Colonel?
I'm here.
Okay, how long will you be there in Taiwan, Colonel?
I leave Saturday.
You leave Saturday. All right. Colonel, be safe, my friend. Thanks for joining us for the few minutes there that you can, and let us know if you can come back on any other night to give us an update. We look for a full report when you come back. Colonel John Mills, his website, by the way, is waragainstthedeepstate.com, waragainstthedeepstate.com. That's his book and his website, waragainstthedeepstate.com. We are minutes away from the debate tonight between being carried by ABC News, President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. Reagan, or not Reagan, who's in the control room? Caleb's in the control room tonight. Caleb, can we dip in? Do we have any? They're on an ad break right now. All right, well, there you go. I want to quickly go to you, though, Leo. You and I were talking today about a new article, something that we were discussing here in May of 2021. May of 2021, a self-replicating vaccine, so-called, coming out of Japan. Michael Yon was warning about that with me a couple weeks ago in an interview from Japan. Give our audience a quick update on how this could, absolutely be a big problem, a self-replicating vaccine. Johns Hopkins has a whole paper. We've showed the screenshot on radio today that we showed on the air back in 2021, where it would spread like a communicable disease. Tell our audience about this, because it may be released in October in Japan.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. This is a real deal here. Very scary news out of Japan. They've got a team of scientists there who have been working on this new vaccine that would be, as it says, they call it the replicon because it's self-replicating, which means that it could be spread from the vaccinated community to the unvaccinated community, really without any controls. And so this is, it is a type of DNA vaccine, which means that people who get vaccinated with it or come in contact supposedly with someone who's been vaccinated with this serum will have some sort of DNA change, and that is what's so concerning. I would hope we could hear from Dr. McCullough on this to explain the science behind it, because it's certainly too complicated for me to explain, but it just sounds very, very concerning, Brandon.
Colonel, what do you make of this? Japan, of all people, why are they doing this?
Well, the height of arrogance in the West, in the scientific community, is so great that we actually put a lab in Wuhan, China, for conducting gain-of-function research, and that resulted in what did it result in? Oh, the COVID-19 virus and its release. So we've actually aided the development of bioweapon technology, and this takes it even a step further. It's the height of arrogance in the West, and that includes our allies, the Japanese. Look, I don't have any problems with scientific development whatsoever, but we've seen the dangers of this mRNA technology and DNA technology using vaccines to release something that is uncontrolled into the environment in the hopes that it's going to be okay without full testing is beyond what I can think of as humane. It's inhumane, and it should be a crime against humanity if this is allowed to go forward without complete and full testing that is able to be viewed transparently by the public to ensure that everybody is safe. Because quite honestly, the folks like my mother who did not get the mRNA vaccine for COVID are much better off than I am, who did take the first vaccine on the Moderna side. because I had been taking vaccines all of my life since I was a little baby through DOD, and I wanted to volunteer to be one of the guinea pigs. And thank God my mother didn't take it, and she didn't even have to have my urging. So I don't want her exposed at age 85 years old to some vaccine because somebody's off-gassing it, as so to speak, because they chose to get it, when we don't really fully understand the dangers of these types of vaccinations.
Yeah, and, absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's take a quick break here, folks. Let me just remind you, we're brought to you by you. We are minutes away from the debate beginning. ABC is putting it out there. We're going to pick it up, provide color commentary. Again, we're brought to you each and every night. This network, 24/7, folks. It cost us around $40,000 a month in hard cost to run Worldview Tube. And that does not count, my compensation for running the network. That's just our hard cost. We had to spend $11,000 today doing something that we have put off now for years, and that is adding in a brand new central duct system of AC. A whole new AC unit through a whole duct system had to be added into this studio, into the control room, another one in control room number 2, because we live in the Mid-South. And folks, it gets hot, it gets humid, and we have tried everything we can think of to get these rooms cooled off. We have an AC guy that's tried to help us, and he finally said this week, you're just not going to accomplish it without actually putting in a duct system. So we had all the ducts cut. We had stuff the last 2 days being spread out. I came in today to a mess. Literally, the gals just came in and cleaned and got out of here before we come on the air tonight because there's dust everywhere from cutting sheetrock. But that's $11,000 we had to drop because we have to keep these servers cool. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment. We have to keep them cool. Literally, we could hear these machines down over here in this studio running from control room 1. They were so loud that we could hear it clear as a bell in this room, which means those machines are working way too hard. It's going to tear them up. They're not going to last as long, and they could even overheat and melt. So, overheat and crash on us and be destroyed. So this wasn't we want to be in a cool room, let's spend 11 grand. This was a matter of necessity to protect the equipment that runs this network. So the point I'm making is every time we turn around, folks, we have another expenses. Sat down yesterday, wrote about $30,000 in checks. Of course, some of that was legal bills because I've been subpoenaed so many times by Dominion and Smartmatic and others. So folks, all of that to say, we need your support. How do we push out free television? Like we do, not only the 24/7 stream, but then you can go back to worldviewtube.com and watch it all on demand for free. So we need your support. Please go to www.foundation.com, www.foundation.com. Again, www.foundation.com. We need your support. You'll find our mailing address there as well. Now, don't forget, our Ozarks Worldview Weekend is coming up on Friday night, November 1st. And if you go to www.tvstore.com, you can find full details. You can find the number to book your room at the resort on the beautiful Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, that's the resort right there. It's a beautiful resort. And these guys are all going to be with us live in person. Let me blow that up a little bit. That is the resort right there, folks. It's a gorgeous resort. And you can get a room that's right on the water. Everything will be taking place there through the weekend. So again, don't delay. Get registered. Speakers include Colonel Rob Maness, Aaron Lavarco, who, by the way, will be in studio with us tomorrow, Dr. Rob Lindstedt, Sharam Hadian, Andy Woods, Patrick Wood, Leo Holman, Bill Federer, Dr. James Thorpe, all live in person. You can walk up to them. You can visit with them. You can talk to them. It's going to be a great weekend. Friday night, November 1st. The leaves should be in full bloom in the beautiful rolling hills of the Ozarks. This is in Central Missouri. Central Missouri, 1,150 miles of shoreline, Lake of the Ozarks is. Come in a day early, stay a day longer, make it a vacation with a purpose. That's kind of been our slogan since we started this. A vacation with a purpose. So again, please join us, won't you? You don't want to miss out. General seating, priority seating, full details, www.tvstore.com, www.tvstore.com. Now, if you prefer to book your tickets over the phone, just call and leave a message for Melissa or text her. She'll get back to you, help you book that over the phone. 901-825-0652, 901-825-0652. 888-848-9252 is the number. And one of our sponsors here, of course, is worldviewtalk.com. Worldviewtalk.com. Get your free satellite phone, folks. You get a free satellite phone when you sign up for one of their very reasonable monthly plans of talk and text. We also have the Bivvy that allows you to sync that to your cell phone. Sync the Bivvy to your cell phone, and you can send text messages through that Bivvy to a satellite and down to your family member that has a Bivvy synced to their cell phone. So you're going to send your text messages like you always have, but instead of going to a cell tower, it's going to go through this device, which communicates with a satellite back down to the Bivvy of your family member tied to their cell phone. Very inexpensive way that should there be an issue with our power grid or cell towers, you will be able to communicate. I saw a report today. We're at a 23-year high now for solar flares. So we could have a Carrington event. A solar flare takes down the power grid or one or all three of the power grids. So it doesn't have to be a terrorist attack, a cyber attack. It could be a naturally occurring event like a Carrington event. So again, go ahead and be prepared for these things. They also have solar generators, and they have their brand new, take a look at this. They have their brand new backpacks that are bulletproof backpacks that just came out. All the details, worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. And then, of course, don't forget about Bella Grace. Bella Grace, it is an elixir I take every day. Melissa takes it every day. It's got 80 clinical trials behind it. It is the real deal. Get a subscription and save. Collagen, the peptides are cut short, so your body will digest it, whereas most studies show a lot of this collagen, it's cheap, and you're flushing 95% of it down the commode. So again, the studies show you're absorbing 95% because the peptides are cut short and your body can absorb it. It also not only has high-end collagen, which is great for our eyes, our skin, our joints, our ligaments, but and our hair growth, but it also has what's called cat's claw, anti-inflammatory from a bark on a vine out of Peru. A lot of our problems are inflammation related. The third item is astaxanthin. That is a very, very strong antioxidant, and it crosses the brain-blood barrier. So check that out. Get a subscription. Take it every day like we do. 80 clinical trials. You can join at melissahousebg.com. You can also become an influencer. Get three people to get a subscription, you get yours for free. It's a great way to support us and your health as well. All right, we are just seconds away. Let's dip into give us a little shot there. Do we have anything going on, Caleb? Are they on time? All right, so they're getting close. How many? They're giving us 45-second countdown, as you see there at the top right-hand corner. ABC News carrying this, and we're looking forward to providing commentary. Gentlemen, if you want to laugh, your mics will be hot. So if you want to jump in and say something, start, and we'll mute Kamala or whoever and get your comment. We want some running commentary along the way. So don't be afraid to jump in and say, that's not true, or that's a great point. We'd love to hear your live color commentary along the way. So don't get up and go to the bathroom because your mics will be hot.
Brandon, if I could just add one quick thing. It's important, I think, to watch the role of the moderator, ABC News, in this debate. If you recall 4 years ago, the debate was literally rigged in favor of Joe Biden, and Fox News helped Joe Biden through that debate continuously. If you recall, Chris Wallace was the main perpetrator. He was literally a media assassin that night against Donald Trump in that debate. So ABC News is no more a friend of Donald Trump, certainly, than Fox News. So I think it bears watching.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great point. And again, they're running already 1 minute behind schedule. So I don't know what this is going to mean. It looks like it might be beginning now. Let's let them go ahead and do their little intro thing and all that they're going to do. Colonel, you think it's going to be 2 against 1 tonight?
Oh, I think it'll be 3 against 1. All of ABC's crew will be against President Trump. So look for trick shots and those.
Oh, that's right, because there are two moderators tonight for ABC, aren't there?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure are.
Let's dip in. And feel free again, guys. Your mics are hot. Jump in anytime. Here we go.
and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to startup small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year, because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no